Model Making Guru is sponsored by emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs. emodels.co.uk. Make something awesome. Hey everyone, it's Fox from Model Making Guru here. Hello and welcome to a new build series. Now this is a build series that will last more than 6 episodes, I can guarantee you that, Paul, and also it's going to last about 20 months. And how do I know it's going to last 20 months? Because we're doing this. Yes, we are doing Warhammer Conquest. This is the 80-issue Partwork series from Hachette and Games Workshop, where over 20 months and 80 issues you can build up a Space Marine and a Death Guard army, plus lots of scenery, tools, paints and all other bits and bobs. And thanks to my very good friend, patron and follower George, I'm now subscribed to the premium version of this, and each month I'll be getting 4 issues and I'll be going through the issues with you. Now this is just a brief introduction to the series before we get going. As it stands at the moment, I've been to the shop and I've bought issues 1, 2 and 3. I have now subscribed and I'm just waiting for part 4, my first delivery of part 4 and some freebies to turn up. So the first few issues will be a bit wibbly wobbly because I haven't got part 4 yet, and then each month we'll just go through and we'll do the building and the painting for each of the 4 issues for that month. Now it's important to note here that I'm going to be showing you the building and the painting. What I'm not going to go through is any of the gameplay stuff, because each magazine, apart from the first one, has gameplay stuff as well. I'm not going to focus on that. This is purely going to focus on the building and the painting. And what I'm going to do is, much to my chagrin, I'm going to follow the building and painting steps in this magazine. I'm going to tailor this video build series as if you've subscribed to this yourself, but you've never made a model before. The whole magazine is tailored towards the absolute beginner, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to assume that you've never even built or modeled before or painted it or anything like that. So I'm going to go through what's in the magazines in order. We will be jumping around on the figures from issue to issue, because you paint a few bits on a figure and then you come back a few issues later and you paint some more bits as you get more paint. So it's going to be jumping around a little bit. Because I'm following the steps in the magazine, of course, I'm going to be painting these guys as they appear in here. I'm going to be painting them as blue ultramarines. However, in case you're new to Warhammer, there are over 1,000 different Space Marine chapters, all different colours and different symbols. So before you go ahead and start painting and following me doing this, if you want to do a different colour to blue, you can do. Just get yourself some different paints. Another thing I will do as we go along as well is, although I'm going to follow the steps in here, I may well add stuff that's not mentioned. There is definitely one thing I'm going to add, which I'll explain in the next episode, but there's going to be things I might add. I might add techniques or methods that aren't in here, just to make things a bit more interesting. So I'm going to follow it as it says, but I may add some things along the way. Now, before we get going with the good stuff, there's one last thing I want to do in this issue, and this is show you the extras that you might want to get to help you along the way. Now, when you get issue 1, or when you've subscribed, if you subscribe right from the start, you get a load of freebies, but wherever you start, you get some freebies. You get some free sprue cutters or nippers, you get some free glue, and you get eventually a free holding handle, you get some paintbrushes and things like that. But we're going to go through some things that I'm going to be using that you might find helpful. So throughout the course of the build, you'll see me using these. Now, if you subscribe to the magazines, you'll get a pair of nippers free, so they're absolutely fine. They're the cheapy cheap version of these, basically. But if you're just buying it issue by issue and you've not subscribed, you won't get those bits free of charge. You won't get the nippers or the glue or anything like that. So you want to get yourself some nippers or side cutters. Now, you'll see me using these. These are my very expensive Japanese God hand nippers. If you're in the UK, I wouldn't recommend buying these. They're at least 45 quid, and you'll pay the same again shipping. These were gifted to me by a very kind follower, but I'll be using these. Alternatively, you can just pop to your local Warhammer store and get yourself some of these. They're nippers, they're cutters. This is just for getting bits off the sprue when you're assembling the model. You need to get the bits off the sprue and then assemble it. You don't have to use those though. Of course, you can go to any model store or craft store and get yourself some sprue cutters or side cutters. The only thing I would say is don't use anything from the hardware store, the DIY store, B&Q, anything like that. Don't use, like, you know, proper electrical cutters or anything. They'll damage the plastic and pull your model to pieces. They're horrible. They'll just really gnarl the plastic up. Make sure if you're getting some, you get proper model making sprue cutters or side cutters. Again, you can get these from Warhammer store. You can get other ones from any model store or hobby store. So you want some sprue cutters to get bits off the sprue. One area where you're going to want to spend some money, and I can promise you this, is brushes. The brush they send you with issue 1, It's terrible. It's rubbish. It's absolute pap. Throw it away. It's not worth anything. If you try and paint with that brush, you'll just have sadness and misery and everything will look like ass. So just throw that away. You can, of course, go to your local art store and get some brushes. As long as they're not cheap and nasty, you should be alright. Get yourself a good range of tiny to big fat round bristles. Get some square chisely shaped ones for dry brushing. Just get a good range. You don't have to spend a fortune. Just don't go super cheap kind of pound shop brushes, because they won't really work well for you. They won't last long and they'll make painting harder. And if you're starting out, you want things to be as easy as possible. Another recommendation is a brush set called the Mega Brush Set from a company called The Army Painter. I can recommend these because these are awesome and I use them all the time. You have to go online, go and Google these, but it's The Army Painter Mega Brush Set. Give them a go. Again, if you've subscribed, you'll get yourself one of these. I think after the 3rd delivery, I think you get one of these. I'm not sure. It's a thing for holding a little dude. So when you're painting him, it's called a painting handle. When you're painting him, you're not having to handle the model all the time. You can sit there and you can do the painty quite nicely, and you can just hold this and you're not getting fingerprints and scrubby marks all over your figure. Now you will get one of these with your subscription, like I say. However, if you've not subscribed and you don't get one, just pop along to your local Warhammer store. They're like a £5. One more thing you might want to use, and by use I mean make for yourself, is one of these. No, not just a sandwich tub, it is a wet palette. What is a wet palette? Instead of using a piece of paper or the palette pad or a plate or a dish as a palette to mix your paints on and have your paint sitting around on, make a wet palette. It's dead simple. It keeps your paint hydrated and moist for longer, so you can put paint on this, and when you're finished at the end of the day, put it in the fridge, get it out, it'll still be usable. It'll make your paint last for days. You'll use less paint. It'll be less expensive. You don't have to buy paint as often. It'll also improve your brushing skills massively, trust me, because you'll be working with wet, moist paint, not dried stuff. Dead simple. All you need is a sandwich tub. Get one with a seal around the outside, like an airtight seal. You need some kitchen tissue, kitchen roll. Get 3 or 4 sheets, fold them over and stick them in the bottom. And you'll need a pack of parchment paper. Not greaseproof paper, not baking foil, not anything like that, not baking paper. It needs to be parchment paper. In the UK it can be hard to find. You can get it from Asda and Tesco's and places like that, but you need to make sure it's parchment paper. So the easiest thing, get yourself on Amazon and look up Mason Cash parchment paper. This has lasted me for years. It'll continue to last me for years because you don't use a lot. Put a piece on there, you soak it, you leave it for a minute or two, turn it over, leave it for another minute or two, drain all the water off. You've now got a spongy layer of tissue to keep the moisture in, and the parchment paper which lets a little bit of water through and keeps your paint moist. I've done a video on how to make and use one of these. It's here. But yeah, get yourself one of these. It'll just make your painting a lot easier. Trust me on this. Trust me. One last thing you might like to get is something to clean your brushes. Now this isn't actually essential, but it's a really good idea, especially if you spent all that money on some brushes rather than using the one that comes with the first issue, which is terrible. Just pop onto Amazon and get yourself, or you can get these from art stores, the Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver. It's like a £5. It's basically a thing full of soap. It smells fantastic. Have a whiff of that. Oh, it smells like lemons. It's almost edible. And it's just a soap that you'll use at the end of the day to clean your brushes. And I'll show you when we do the first lot of painting, I'll show you how to do this. But yeah, get yourself some Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver. There are other things that are available. I just use this one and I really like this. It's just really good. It keeps your brushes clean, gets all the paint out that otherwise won't come out, and it also keeps them conditioned. It's like shampooing your hair. It keeps them conditioned and helps them keep their point better, makes them last longer. So get yourself some brush cleaner. So there we go, that's just the quick basics done. Just things you might think about getting. If you're not subscribing, obviously you'll need to get things like glue and tools and things like that. If you are subscribing, you'll get a lot of the bits free anyway. The stuff you'll get with it, apart from that initial paintbrush, which is absolute gash, is alright. The glue, the clippers and things, they'll be fine. You may want to get some more brushes because you only get 3 brushes with this set and you need more than 3. So that's the basics. In the next episode we'll have a quick look at priming and assembly. And then in the 3rd episode we'll actually crack on with the getting on the painting. Now like I said at the start, I'm not going to be showing you the gameplay side of things. Each magazine does come with, well not the first one, but does come with how to play the game and different missions and things to play. I'm not going to show you that. We're just going to focus on the building and the painting, and we're going to go through the steps. So over the next 20 months we'll get all these built up and painted up, and I'll probably show you some extra stuff along the way, weathering tips and techniques and other tricks and things that they might not show you in here, because this will just get you painted up to a basic tabletop level. I'll hopefully take you a bit further. So until the next episode, thank you so much for watching. Do take care. Make sure to go and join the Model Makers Boom Hut, the best model making group online. If you need help and advice, everybody in there will love to help you out. Address is here. And don't forget, of course, if you'd like to support this channel, you're more than welcome to pop along to patreon.com/modelmakingguru and become a patron. But until next episode, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. Adios, amoebas.